Well, good morning, Tara. Thank you so much for agreeing to collaborate with the Clark County Volunteer Lawyers Program about the Fair Chance Act and how it can help Washington residents look for employment. We really appreciate it. And before we start, I just want to congratulate you on your election success, and you're now our new representative in Kitsap County, and that's just fabulous.
Thank you so much, LeAnn.
Yes, it's wonderful. Jesse, our legal director, asked me to present something about the Fair Chance Act. And as I was looking at the information about it online, I saw your interview with Mother Jones. And I was so touched by your life story. And I just wanted to kind of ask you some questions about the Fair Chance Act today. And first off, what is the Fair Chance Act?
Yeah, the Fair Chance Act was a piece of legislation that went through our Washington State Legislature. I believe it passed in 2018, if my memory serves me correctly. And
You're right.
It basically is, ban the box for employment. What it did is create a system where employers can no longer ask about criminal history on a job application. And what that does is remove barriers to that first step. So hopefully people with criminal history can get in and have an interview and show how qualified they are for the position and really get the employer on their side and want to hire them. Now, a background check can come after that. There can be questions about that during the interview process and in hiring decisions, but at least it removed that very first barrier towards access to an interview.
And it's my understanding that the employer, the potential employer can't reject a person for failure to disclose a criminal history prior to them making the determination whether they're qualified.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. It's my understanding that an employer can't reject an applicant for failure to disclose prior to being prior to the employer deciding whether the person's qualified or not.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thanks. Well, part of what touched me so much about that Mother Jones article was your life story, and I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that. What led to you ultimately ending up in the place you're at right now?
Yeah, thank you so much. So, like so many people that are involved in the criminal legal system, I came from generations in my family of poverty and violence and substance use disorder. And everyone in my family before me has been incarcerated as well. That led to a lot of adverse childhood experiences where I was living homeless and on the streets, in the foster care system, had several crimes committed against me as a young girl and became a mother at 15 years old. However, I was the first person in my family to also graduate from high school, let alone go on to college. And so I went on to college and I became a registered nurse, and I loved caring for people. I really feel strongly, even today, that nursing is my calling. I want to get back to it one day. But, because of the untreated trauma from my childhood and not having access to good supports and mental health care and a supportive community of people, I eventually ended up using drugs also to deal with the underlying trauma. And that led to incarceration for me. So I was convicted of selling a small amount of drugs to support my habit, like so many others as well, and ended up in prison where I really thought my life was over. I was losing my nursing license. I was losing my kids. I was losing my home. I was losing, my human dignity, everything all at once. And it was there that I actually met some attorneys, volunteer law students that came from Seattle University, and really helped me have good outcomes in my legal matters around, getting reunified with my kids, not losing my nursing license, dealing with my foreclosure, dealing with my consumer debt, all of these collateral consequences to a conviction. And they inspired me to go to law school. And I had never known a lawyer in my life. I thought lawyers were these supreme elite beings that were not really humans, but these law students really invested in me and helped me to get into law school. And during law school, I did everything I could as far as taking every opportunity to go testify in Olympia, and advocate for my community, and really succeeding in law school and being appointed by the governor to several boards and commissions and starting a nonprofit. But when I graduated from law school, again, the barrier around my criminal history came up, and the Washington State Bar Association originally said I didn't have the moral character and fitness to become an attorney. And that was devastating. But fortunately, I had made so many friends in the legal community around Washington that everybody came together, and we got my case before the Washington State Supreme Court, and they ruled unanimously on the same day as the hearing that I would be able to sit for the bar and become an attorney. And so it's like my life's work to continue to give back and remove barriers for other people who come from similar life experiences as mine. We do recover. We can change if we have the right social supports to treat the root causes of what led to criminal behavior. And what I find over and over again, as I'm speaking with employers and companies, that everybody's touched by this issue in some way. They have a family member or a friend who has overcome and has a criminal record, because 1 in 3 people in our country has a criminal record of some kind. And so I am really, inspired by the change that we've created in Washington with a large movement of stakeholders over the last 5 years. And the Fair Chance Act was one of those efforts. And there's so many more. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Your story is so touching to me. It's, and one of the things that struck me as you were speaking is how important it is that we have volunteer lawyers who can get involved not only in criminal matters, which is, there's a little more intense representation there, but in civil matters, your nursing license and things like that.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I've joined the efforts of the Access to Justice community. And I'm really excited about my new opportunity as a state legislator to speak about how impactful civil legal aid can really be to changing a person's life. I am the proud recipient of those services. And that's how I was in law school and having to deal with my legal financial obligations, for example, and Columbia Legal Services was there. And in my local community, my volunteer legal services provider helped me have to file my bankruptcy to deal with all the consumer debt that went into collections when I was in prison. The Northwest Justice Project helped me with my nursing license and my family law case and my foreclosure when I was immediately released from prison. And I don't think the general public knows the impact of a volunteer civil legal aid lawyer and how much that can change a life. I see it over and over again in domestic violence situations and in eviction, and just helping the poor maintain what they have is so important and can really prevent a larger need later on down the road. So I absolutely am a champion for civil legal aid and appreciate all that you do.
Well, thank you. How can people who are looking for work best advocate for themselves if they have a criminal record and they believe that perhaps an employer isn't following the Fair Chance Act, isn't doing what they're supposed to do?
Well, there are some enforcement mechanisms, and the Attorney General's office does have a civil rights unit who, by statute, can enforce if an employer is not following the law. I would say that there's also a lot of other resources. I know my organization, Civil Survival Project, has a reentry legal aid project now, but we also have a community of other individuals who've overcome the employment barriers and can provide that peer support to each other. And then we also have some attorneys that can help. The gold star really is to get your record vacated through the New Hope Act and vacating statutes. And once you get your record vacated, you can lawfully say, no, I've never been convicted of a crime on any application, including the background check that will come down the road. But in the initial phase, if an employer is not following the law and is asking on an application, I would ask them to contact the Attorney General's office.
Okay, and could you say a little bit more about how a person could a person without the ability to pay for an attorney by the hour could get their criminal record vacated?
Yeah, absolutely. We have forms on our website at civilsurvival.org, and it gives instructions on how to vacate a criminal record. We also recently did a webinar, and the videos are listed on our website. I would refer people to look at those and try to determine whether they're eligible and perhaps file the motion in the court where they do have the criminal record. And if they need more support, they can call or email us at info@civilsurvival.org, and we can provide technical advice and services. And in addition, if I don't know if the Clark County Volunteer Lawyers Program has this service available, but there are several volunteer legal aid programs across the state who are building capacity to take on some of these cases.
Yes, and I believe we are going to be providing that service as well. I appreciate your time so much today, and I think I've asked all the questions that I can think of. I'm so happy that you are now a state representative with the state of Washington. You're going to be a wonderful addition.
Thank you so much, LeAnn, and thank you for all that you do. We need, you know, a million LeAnns across the Washington state. Maybe not a million, but, you know, a couple 100,000 would be nice, because the civil legal issues of people living in poverty is so much, and we need to continue to bring more people to answer the call that is the problem we have. So I appreciate you. I appreciate Clark County Volunteer Lawyers Program and our broader access to justice community so much.
Thank you so much, Tarra, and great kudos to you, and good luck, and I'm sure I'll be hearing a lot about you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.